Welcome to the Carl Jackson Show, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Guys, U.S. Representative Ilhan Omar does not belong in the United States of America. She should be expelled from Congress. She should be deported, in my opinion. She is a nationalist. The problem is she's a Somali nationalist. She's not an American. She is an immigrant who is not an American, and she has risen to the highest heights in America. She is a U.S. representative. But again, this lady does not belong in Congress. This lady does not belong in the United States of America. She needs to go bye-bye. I'm going to explain why. And she is part of the problem with our immigration system. I mean, she's indicative of how bad, or an indictment of how bad our immigration system is, as well as what our foreign policy has been over decades. So we're going to get into that. This is the Carl Jackson Show. Please subscribe wherever you go to get your podcast. We are on Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. If you guys would share this, I would appreciate it, por favor. Also, all things social media at The Carl Jackson Show is where you can go to find me. I would certainly appreciate that. Subscribe. You can review the podcast on YouTube and Rumble. And don't forget to support MyPillow.com. Guys, they have plenty of deals available for my listeners. If you go to MyPillow.com right now and you click on the radio podcast square at the top of the page and you enter my name, Carl, C-A-R-L, you will get all of the deals that are available. All of the deals that are available, or you will get a gang of deals available to you. Did I say that right? Anyway, go to mypillow.com. Plenty of deals there. All you have to do is use my name, Carl, or give them a call if you prefer. You don't go online. You don't do that thing. I understand. Some of you are old school. 800-858-0263. Again, that number, 800-858-0263. You're going to be supporting American jobs, American manufacturing, but also what you're really supporting them for is a good night's rest, right? You have great My Pillows, you have great towels, you have bathrobes, even stuff for your pets. MyPillow.com. I want you to watch this video. This video took place in New York City. This is a Crime Stoppers video. This is a bunch of illegal aliens that have come into our country. They've broken into our country, and this is why illegal immigration is bad. This is why we need legal immigration. This is why we need to return to the policies prior to the 1960s, a merit-based immigration system. Because when you allow illegal aliens to come into the country, they don't assimilate. And you know what they do? They behave just like they were able to behave in their country. And this is exactly what happens in this video. So I want you to check out this video of illegal aliens beating down two NYPD officers. So they're trying to arrest a suspect. Look at that. And then the illegal aliens start kicking the officers while the illegal alien they're trying to arrest is fighting with the officers. Now, you might think they can get away with this because they're in New York. That would be a good guess. Look at that illegal alien. Just kicked the officer in the head. All right, so apparently they arrested that illegal alien as well as a couple of others that assaulted them, but they were let out on bail immediately. I want to go to another, but this is New York. I wish I could say that this is just New York City. Now, letting them out immediately, that is a New York City thing, but I tell you what's not a New York City thing. Obviously, illegal aliens have been spread throughout this entire country thanks to the Biden administration and their open borders policy that we all know, completely intentional. They want a permanent servant class, a slave class, an underclass, and they are getting it. Now, so let's just go to the video of Ilhan Omar. Again, I argue that Ilhan Omar is a nationalist. I want to go through a column that was written by John Daniel Davidson of the Federalist that I agree with wholeheartedly. But Ilhan Omar, and I posted this out, I tweeted it out or put it out on X. Listen, this lady is not an American. She may be a U.S. citizen. She is not an American. This lady needs to be deported. She needs to be expelled from the U.S. Congress. She is not loyal to the United States of America. As a matter of fact, she's a grave threat to the United States of America. She should be nowhere near. I'm glad. I forget what committee Kevin McCarthy kicked her off of, this lady should be nowhere near any sensitive information when it comes to the U.S. government at all. But here's what she has to say, and she speaks in Somali. So if this is written in English, I will share that with you. Gabe, let's go ahead and roll the video, por favor. He said, "I'm so honored to have the president of Somalia."
madaxweynaha Soomaaliya
President Hassan Sheikh Mohammed. Let us give him a warm welcome, Minneapolis. The president and I have a special relationship. I call him uncle, and he calls me his girl. Welcome to your home. Our home is your home. Wow. Welcome to Minneapolis. We are very happy that Hassan is our president, she says. And for those of you, you can subscribe to YouTube and Rumble and watch there for yourselves. Somalia is our home. It is home to all the people gathered here. We do not feel that it is far from us. Somalia is our heart. It is in our hearts. We always think about Somalia. Okay. We always think about Somalia. I mean, she went on to say things that wasn't in that video that were even more damning, and I'll get to them. Basically, but I'll get to them anyway. So that's Representative Ilhan Omar. Guys, here's what we're facing, especially with the Democratic Party that has gone communist. Look at the people that are arriving or being elected into Congress. This lady should not be in U.S. Congress. She shouldn't be able to win a seat in U.S. Congress. But there's reports that basically she cheats and intimidates Somali citizens or American citizens that happen to be Somalians in her district in order to win. She goes and does ballot harvesting or her campaign in order to continue to win the vote. This lady is not. She is not an American. I know she's a U.S. citizen. She is not an American. Carl, what do you mean by that? Well, let me go through this. Hat tip, the Federalist. Representative Ilhan Omar represents everything wrong with Americans' immigration system. John Davidson writes, and he talks about this clip that's going around of Ilhan Omar talking to a group of Somalians about her allegiances and priorities as a U.S. Congresswoman. He says what Omar says is instructive, not just about her general worldview, but mostly and more importantly about how backward and destructive our immigration system is. Now, again, I believe that Ilhan Omar, being a representative of the United States of America, being a citizen of the United States of America, it is an indictment on our own system. This lady is a nationalist. All right. She's loyal to a country. The problem is she's not loyal to our country. Some of the things that she said that you may not have picked up in that video, or we didn't have in that particular video. She says she's a Somalian first. She's a Somalian first, a U.S. citizen. Says they're Somalian first and then they're Muslim second. She didn't mention the United States. She didn't mention her citizenship here. She promises to use her power and influence to protect her nation's interests. Could you imagine that? I mean, imagine that. We pay her salary with U.S. tax dollars. Speaking in Somali, and she says Omar tells the cheering crowd that her top priority is to expand Somali's territory. We didn't get that part in the video as well. If Somalis one day will go after our missing territories, she said. Man, so she's talking about Kenya. She's talking about Ethiopia. Absolutely insane. She brags that the U.S. government, quote, will only do what Somalians in the U.S. tell them to do. They will do what we want and nothing else. They must follow our orders, and that is how we will safeguard the interests of Somalia. We Somalians must have the confidence in ourselves that we call the shots in the U.S., close quote. Whoa. So why is she allowed to serve in Congress? Omar is an immigrant. Representative Ilhan Omar. She's an immigrant, but she's not an American. Make no mistake about it. Why is she even allowed to remain in the United States? She should not be allowed to be here. She has no allegiance to the United States of America. As you just heard me quote, This was from her speech, parts of the speech that we didn't get, unfortunately. She appears, again, to have no allegiance. She was taken in by our country. You know, she was part of the lottery immigration system, went to a place, a hellhole, and I'll say it, like Somalia, and took her family here. Her family won the lottery immigration system, literally. I believe that's what it's called. You're talking about a war-torn country. You're talking about an impoverished country. You're talking about a country where there's warring factions. You're talking about a country where they haven't even had real leadership in 50 plus years. Absolutely insane. So she gets plucked out of the muck, and all she does is disrespect us. I mean, it's just insane. It's insane. On top of that, she's an anti-Semite. She's an anti-Semite. It's obvious that she's a leftist. She's a communist. And again, her entrance into this country is an indictment on the American system, on our American immigration system. We should have never allowed people like her, and I'm saying that intentionally, into this country. And it's not based upon race. It's based upon worldview. This lady does not respect America. She doesn't want America. She doesn't love America. She has no national allegiance to America. John Davidson writes, people whose national allegiances lie with other lands and other people and whose priorities and way of life are incompatible with American Republican and our national character, they don't belong here. They don't belong here. Guys, I used to think come on. I never wanted open borders. But I got to tell you, even legal immigration, with the problem that we have on the border right now, on the southern border, thank God Texas Governor Greg Abbott, I think he's finally starting to stand up. I think he's doing things, frankly, I thought he should have been doing quite some time ago. And you see other governors starting to stand up behind them, red state governors, Governor Ron DeSantis, and a lot of these people are playing tag along. Let's be real. Governor Greg Abbott, and you had Governor DeSantis, and also I forget the governor that left Arizona that finished his second term, and he was out in Arizona. He was playing a part of it, part in it initially, and that was shipping illegal immigrants to different parts of the country, so that the lefties could see how it felt. But thank God he's doing that now. Meanwhile, though, the Senate GOP leadership is pushing a bill that will codify 2 million illegal aliens into the country every year. Not our regular legal immigration system, but illegal immigration system, which is no system at all because you don't have a country. Guys, we need a wall, 900 miles of wall. I saw Hugh Hewitt, our colleague at Salem, at the Salem Media Group. I believe he tweeted that out. We need 900 miles of wall before we talk about anything else as regards to immigration. And there should be mass deportation. But I got to tell you, I don't feel confident that Republicans or Democrats have the spine to do it. I hope that I'm wrong, but I don't believe they do. But let's go back to, what is immigration for? What is it supposed to be for? Is it supposed to be for people like Ilhan Omar to come to this country, or the legal aliens that you saw beating down the New York Police Department officers? Is it for people like that, or is it for people that are going to come to the United States of America, respect our laws, respect our way of life, respect our culture, respect our religion, and try to make a better place in this world for themselves and for their families, even if their families don't live here? The benefit of living in the United States of America compared to other countries is the wealth that you could attain. And when I say wealth, I don't mean that you might be a multimillionaire. You know what I'm saying? But I think it's the bottom 5% of Americans in the United States are richer than the vast majority of the world. I could have those numbers slightly off, but it's pretty close to that. All right, so immigration policy, the Federalist writes, immigration policy should serve the interests of ordinary Americans. And the primary way, historically, it has done so is by restricting who can come here and under what circumstances. You can't expect that illegals won't have an impact on America's culture and religion. Here's what our founders wanted. He writes, this goes all the way back to the founding. Every piece of major immigration legislation adopted by American leaders from the late 18th century through to the middle of the 20th century was designed to preserve American self-government and our national our national character. It's not that they wanted no immigration, it's that they wanted to prevent the importation of a non-citizen class that would undercut and destabilize the republic. And that is exactly why the left wants a bunch of illegal immigration. Obviously, they retain power. They get more people into the country. They get more bodies, if you will, into their districts. That counts against the census. So you have a bigger population of people. That means more representation in Congress for Democrats. That's all they want. And on top of that, you get to destabilize everybody else. You get to make everybody else, the middle class, becomes poverty stricken because now they're competing for housing, food, rent, so on, etc., jobs with the middle class. They understand rightly that in a general policy of immigration restriction, speaking of the founders, if we're going to keep this country, or if we're going to keep self-government, if we're going to keep our character, we've got to close the borders. It's as simple as that. He writes that principle, which held from the founders up until the middle of the 1960s, was predicated not on bigotry, whether based on race or religion or political ideology, but on a preference for America and for Americans, for our way of life, and against that of other people and other nations. Sean Davis of the Federalist, here's what he wrote. America is for Americans. It's true. Being America is more than checking a box on a government form. It means learning and speaking our language, appreciating our culture and history, obeying our laws, embodying our work ethic, and preserving the traditions and attitudes that once made this the most prosperous, powerful, and free nation on earth. If you're not down with that, you're not an American, and you don't need to be here. Oh, by the way, let me share something with you, what the left is up to. Did you guys hear the story of the Christian that decapitated the Satan statue in Iowa? Now he's going to be prosecuted. But if you're on the left, you can tear down any statue you want, guys. And let me just be real with you. We can cry hypocrite all day. There is not going to be any justice until we get some people in office, some strong Republicans, Lord willing, that will be willing to literally fight back against the left, to fight back against a deep state. Unfortunately, we're going to be bullied until and or unless that happens. So I pray to God that we win. I pray to God that we win. But being American is more than checking a box, he says, filling out a government form. It's learning and speaking our language, appreciating our culture and history, obeying our laws, embodying our work ethic, and preserving the traditions and attitudes that once made this the most powerful, prosperous nation and free nation on earth. If you're not down with that, you're not an American and you don't need to be here. Now, again, as we talk about this, the Senate wants to codify 2 million illegal aliens every year. Every year. Oh, man. The idea that we need to stop, close the borders, and restrict even legal immigration isn't just a quaint idea anymore. It's a necessity. He writes here, Democrats today don't really believe in borders, and they denounce all immigration and restrictions as racist because they reject the notion that America should be for Americans and that government policies should prioritize American citizens and their prosperity. Their grand project is to undermine and destroy the American Republic and import mass numbers of non-citizens is one way that they're going about doing it. It's the Cloward-Piven strategy. It's overwhelming the system. Jerry Nadler basically said it. U.S. representative in New York, they want illegal aliens to pick our vegetables and harvest our crops. You had Representative Yvette Clarke of New York as well said, listen, we need more bodies because we need more representation in Congress. So bring these imported slaves on. But their views are not any different from the views that the Democrats held during the antebellum South. No different. This is back to straight up to the Reconstruction era. Use people the way you want to use people. Use people as slaves. Unbelievable. Here's what Thomas Sowell had to say. Here's what Thomas Sowell had to say about this issue. He says, the illusion that you can take in large numbers of people from a fundamentally different culture without jeopardizing your own culture and everything that depends on it should have been dispelled by many counterproductive social consequences in Europe, even aside from the fatal dangers of terrorists. So wrote that at the end of 2015, and that was well into the migrant crisis that is happening in Europe. Oh, another story that I forgot to tell you. You got 11, or I'm sorry, you've got these pro-life protesters that are facing 11 years in prison. That's going down, I believe, today. It's absolutely insane where we are, guys. This nonsense needs to stop. We need to treat Americans like Americans. We need to treat illegals like illegals. And Representative Ilhan Omar needs to be expelled from Congress, and she needs to be deported. If her allegiance isn't to the United States of America, we need to ship her back to where her allegiance is. She can go back to the war-torn, poverty-stricken Somalia for all I care. Guys, listen, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. I'm sorry we were absent yesterday. I had to do a little TV. We're going to be making up those podcasts. So I promise you, make sure you tune in, make sure you subscribe, make sure you support mypillow.com. Guys, I know everyone is having a tough time in this Biden economy. But hopefully one thing we'll all need is a good night's rest, right? So go to mypillow.com. Make sure you use that promo code Carl. Get yourself some good deals. Giza Dream Sheets, MyPillow 2.0, mattress toppers, towels, bath towels, you name it, all right? Available to you. Great deals available to you. MyPillow.com. Promo code Carl, C-A-R-L. Guys, I appreciate you tuning in to this edition of the Carl Jackson Show podcast. And until next time, do not grow weary doing good. God bless you.